Hi, I'm Nicole, the Guildford Coordinator for Family Voice Surrey. Lovely to speak to our families today on Facebook Live. And today we've got from Surrey Care Trust, the amazing Sian Jones and Hannah Jackson. And it's fantastic to just interview you guys today and just to chat to you about what you do. So I think we're going to start by just letting Sian introduce herself and tell us a little bit about you and what you do, and then Hannah, you'll do the same. Fantastic.
Thank you, Nicole, for inviting us today. It's really nice to actually be here and talk about what we actually do as the programmes are now right across Surrey. It's great to be able to get it out to more families, really. So my name's Sian Jones, as Nicole said, and I am one of the managers for Surrey Care Trust. So I manage lots of programmes that are trying to support families, young people, into trying to get back into the community and try and break that cycle of disadvantage and support them in any way we possibly can, really. Hannah.
Fantastic.
Hi everyone. Thanks, Nicole, for introducing us and inviting us today. So I'm Hannah. I'm one of the coordinators on one of the mentoring programs. So Surrey Care Trust, we have so many different programs across Surrey, as Sian mentioned. The program that I work on specifically supports young people. We provide them with a volunteer mentor, and the idea is for them to meet them once a week out in the community and to try and get their confidence built up and just to give them someone else to talk to. Sian is going to give us a little bit of background of how the mentoring program started.
So basically the mentoring started, I want to say sort of 15, 16 years ago. We received some funding, some charity funding for 1 day a week for me to actually go out and support young people that were being excluded from schools. And obviously this was quite a success, so it built up from there. And what I would say is that we ended up with funding then supporting a parent from one pocket of funding, and then we had funding supporting young people. So the age range was 11 to 16, or it was a parent. What we found as time went on actually is that you needed that whole family approach. You needed to be able to work with the whole family. It's okay saying that you're going to give a parent a mentor, but actually within that family, they might need 2 or 3 mentors. And so that's where it all started, and it just built and built. And we found that actually by asking volunteers to work with young people and to work with parents, they engage better. We found that actually they're volunteers, they want to be here, they're not being paid to do a job. They want to actually support somebody and really give something back to the community as well, and just be there for somebody. And it makes such a big difference, because instead of having a professional coming in and doing that short-term intervention, it means that they can stay with them for as long as they need it, not as long as what a professional is telling them that they need it for.
So fantastic. And you were saying when we chatted earlier that the organization has actually hit 40 years, or the charity, it's a charity, right? 40 years this year, which is a massive accomplishment. So have you been part of that the whole time, or what is your role in all of that, Sian?
So I actually started with the company 17 years ago.
Okay.
17 years ago. And I initially came as a volunteer counsellor.
Wow.
Yeah, so I became involved as a volunteer counsellor, counselling young people, and from that one day I happened to walk in and I got asked if I would like to actually be involved a bit more with Surrey Care Trust, and I think because I was quite passionate about what they were actually offering and supporting young people. And back then it was more into the education side, and I'd come from education initially, that I just felt that it was a real vital something that we could offer, if you like. And it's been great because I've been able to actually be part of that journey, part of that mentoring journey, that counselling journey, and been able to build these programs up so that where they are today, really.
So you've been a part of actually developing all the different programs, and that's fantastic. And did you say you have a counselling background to help with all of that?
So my original background was working with children with speech and language difficulties in schools.
Okay.
From there, I'm a play therapist, and then I'm a child psychotherapist as well. So
Wow.
So I worked with children with speech and language to support them to communicate, and it sort of just led me down this path really of feeling that, you know, play therapy, and then working with young people.
Yeah.
And supporting young people through their journey, I always felt was really important. And I think what I found was really important as well is that, yes, we could support a young person, but as I said earlier, if we're supporting a young person, but then there are things going on within that home, and that parent don't need somebody going in and just telling them what to do. They need somebody to go in and say, it's okay to feel like this.
Yes.
It's okay to be struggling. We've all
Yes.
struggled. Nobody gives us a book on how to be a parent.
Yes.
And it's great that we can offer that support and just go in and just be there and let them offload, if you like.
And just basically, that's fantastic. So you're just coming in as a support to the family and just seeing how you can help and just filling the need or whatever it is, whether it's a conversation with a young person or maybe with one of the parents. So you said, so some of the ways that you support parents or families, you were saying that sometimes it's supporting the parents, sometimes it's supporting the children one-on-one. So I don't know, have you got any sort of examples of
I think we go to Hannah. Hannah's got really good examples. I think Hannah knows exactly when it comes to, because her being a coordinator, she obviously works more closely with the young people.
With the families, okay.
Yeah. I think what's great about Surrey Care Trust is because we've got different programmes, you know, we might get a referral in for a young person and go into the home, and then actually, you know, the young person might not be maybe suitable for mentoring, or they might not want it, but actually the parent is the one that's struggling. So then we can call across our different programmes and ask the other teams to go in and try and support that family. So I can think of a couple of examples when that, you know, has happened, when initially we've been involved for the young people, and actually we've got there and, you know, the parent might have some kind of anxiety around their children, or a history of maybe domestic abuse and things like that, when actually, so we've been able to provide the parent with a mentor instead of the young person, and just give them that extra support really, which, yeah, it's lovely being able to work across the different programs that we have. I can think of a few examples of, you know, success stories for young people receiving mentoring from my program. Is that all right to chat about now, or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fab. So
thank you.
So that's okay. So like I said, so I'm one of the coordinators for the wellbeing mentoring program. So we get our funding from CAMS, as they recognise the need to give more support for young people that maybe don't have access to the community and things like that. So our program has been running since April last year. So, you know, just over a year now. And within that, we've supported over 80 different young people and provided them mentors. A good example of mentoring that's gone really well, in quite a short space of time as well, is a young girl who did have a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder, but the main barrier for her was her anxiety. She hadn't left the home really. She wasn't attending school, she was doing it all online. That was partly due to COVID and the impact that had on her. She, you know, when I met her, she wasn't leaving the house, and she didn't have many friends and things like that. And luckily, because we're a charity and we can kind of take our time with these things, I was able to meet up with her a couple of times and encourage her. First we went for a walk, and then we went for a walk to a cafe and just did like little steps, and eventually I introduced her to a volunteer, and luckily another part of the process for the mentoring is we know our volunteers really well through our training process. So we get to really think about who would be the best person for this young person based on, you know, similar interests and skills and things like that. And luckily I found a mentor who had basically exactly the same interests as this girl, with gaming and stuff like that. So they, you know, when they're both a bit nervous when they first met, maybe they were able to form a bond and chat about that and kind of alleviate the anxiety. Now, amazingly, this young girl has actually attended some of our group sessions we run alongside the mentoring program. When, you know, when I met her, that definitely wouldn't have been possible, not leaving the house.
Just for other group sessions, just for young people then, or do you do them for adults as well?
So specifically for my program, for the wellbeing mentoring, most of it is the one-to-one mentoring, but alongside we'll run activity days during like summer holidays and half terms, where basically we will invite a really small group of young people that are receiving the mentoring. So normally about 6 young people of similar ages and maybe similar backgrounds, and invite them to use some of the other programs that we have. So Sian mentioned the swing bridge boats that we have in Guildford. So we've done a few day trips on that, you know, giving them access to something that they've not done before. You know, they get to learn how to drive the boat and stuff like that, which is yeah, really fab.
It's fun, yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun, except for when it rains.
Yeah. This is so fun. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's amazing because, you know, at the start of the trip, again, they're, you know, all a bit nervous and they might not want to try it, and then by the end of it they're like trying to fight over, I want another go at doing it. Yeah. And it's just
what age groups generally would you say come on something like that?
So that's kind of down to me really, of trying to create a group of similar ages, because, you know, we obviously wouldn't want to put maybe a young person that's like 11 with a 17-year-old, because, you know, there might not be too much common ground there necessarily. So we do try and think, you know, what's going to be the best group that would, you know, work for the day, and just help everyone feel comfortable, and, you know, maybe make some friendships, which has happened. We've seen, you know, young people kind of exchanging numbers after a trip.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's really lovely. Actually, only last week we did one, and I was chatting to a young girl, and she said, I think I found a friend today. And I was like, oh, it's really sweet.
So are many of the young people that you help mentor, are they quite isolated from friends, or are they quite alone then in their world, or just kind of more, are they sort of more housebound, or I don't know?
We get such a mix of young people.
Okay.
We have, I think, seen recently an increase in young people maybe that are accessing online education and not going into school, whether that's due to kind of social anxiety or kind of things after COVID. But we do have such a mix of young people, and I think that's what's great about the program, is that our program focuses on young people that are struggling with their mental health, and, you know, you could be any background and experience to struggle with that.
Yes, so just like maybe a lot of anxiety and struggling with depression, or things like that. So just all sorts of things, like and obviously some people are still attending school, would you say?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't say it's you know, more of one or the other. It's just a complete mix.
Okay, all right, and that just sounds amazing. So so obviously all the volunteers are also, they go through quite a bit of training to support young people and them. Yeah,
all our volunteers have to go through they have to come to a 3-week training, and the training is really important from the point of view about us getting to know them, but also for them to get to know us. We also put them through some things where we try and make sure that they look at their hopes and their dreams and what do they want to get from it, and to make sure they're actually doing it for the right reasons. We have the most amazing volunteers. We've got over 500 volunteers now at Surrey Care Trust. So we are
operating all over Surrey.
All over Surrey, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we obviously have that training program initially. Then on top of that, they have to do a safeguarding course. We obviously have to do their DBS, references, application form, all of that. And then what we ask from those volunteers is we ask them to commit to 1 to 2 hours a week to see a young person, or a parent, or if they want to do more, they can obviously come along and they can be involved with Swingbridge, or they could go to one of our allotments and become involved and actually be involved in one of the allotments as well, so that they support adults as well to maybe re-engage back in the community and build their confidence. So if you think you've got that training, you've got safeguarding, and then we ask for them to obviously make sure that they come along to support groups, because we also want them to continue having that ongoing training, because things change, don't they, all the time. You never know what's going to be happening in Surrey. So it's for us to be able to keep them informed of the changes and also what's happening with mental health. But also that it means that they're supporting each other. So those volunteers start to become friends themselves, and they actually are able to actually support each other as well. We also say that they will be allocated a coordinator. So obviously where Hannah is concerned, she will have a bank of volunteers that she is on the end of the phone for all the time. Okay. So any concerns that they have, they know that they've got somebody that is there for them all the time to support them as well.
So which area are you the coordinator for, Hannah? Sorry if you said
all of Surrey, yeah, the whole thing. Because of the funding for my programme, it covers the whole of Surrey, and we do have other teams that have that basically work with the families mentoring, but also can support young people, which is funding from Surrey County Council, but they are more like borough specific. So we do have teams that work in those boroughs, which works well for me, because then I can utilise that and ask them to help me out sometimes.
Yeah. Shane, so it's like, would you say most of your roles looking after the volunteers basically and helping them to do what they do?
Well, what we say is that it's kind of like a triangle. So at one end you've got the young person, and then the volunteer, and then the coordinator, because I'd be the initial person to meet that young person after a referral would come in. So I would already have a bit of a relationship with that young person, and that's how I would then bring the volunteer in once I've met them, and try and think about who the best person for them would be. Just because we want to give it the best chance that it has. You know, we don't want to pull names out of a hat and say, there you go. We really want to try and think about it.
Really
and
good.
then going onwards, the main point of contact will be the young person and the volunteer, but then I'll be there if, you know, the volunteer was to go on holiday, I could check in with the young person, or if there was an incident that happened, then the volunteer could contact me and I could take that forward if needed. So it's constant support.
Can I just jump in there and just say also coordinators, and Hannah's understating this, also the coordinators are there for the parents. So they're there for the parents. So they're there for the parents, they're at the contact with the school, they're the contact with any other professionals. So a coordinator basically is that person that is keeping that holistic family together, if you like, and supporting everything that's going on around that family, as well as keeping that relationship and making sure that the relationship between the mentor and the young person, or the mentor and the parent, is also going very well as well. So and where Hannah's concerned, Hannah's project is right across Surrey, because it's all to do with CAMS and mental health. But then I have teams of like 2 people perhaps who will cover 2 or 3 boroughs.
Yes.
So then Hannah will, and they work with whole families as well. So of course it works really well that Hannah's able to actually have all of that team, if you like, right across Surrey.
Yeah.
And ask for their support as well. So it works really well.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. That's really great. So you've got obviously specific teams in the different boroughs, and then also there's also the different other projects that you do. You've mentioned allotments, and you've mentioned mentoring people. But so what are some of the other projects that you're involved in? Going on the boats.
So
what other?
We've got 2 Swingbridge boats. One that works within the community, So it's about skilling up people and supporting people to be able to re-engage. So it's adults who perhaps have gone through quite difficult times themselves. They've become really isolated. So they can go along to our boat and they can learn new skills. So they rebuild the embankments. They might end up being part of doing something where a lock is concerned. It's all about learning about the environment. It's a great boat. It's great from the point of view that an adult can go along and they end up becoming more and more confident in their own ability. So that means that they could end up going off and finding a job, or they might stay and they might support somebody else who comes onto the boat. Our other swing bridge boat is in Guildford, and it's about, we do trips. So that could be one of our families and encouraging a family to go on it and actually doing a team building day. So they will do a one-day boat handling course. And within that, it's about them learning to communicate better and just being in an environment that is just the most amazing. Being on the water, it's relaxing. And I've watched families turn up with teenagers, and it's been quite funny because you'll have, I always remember this one particularly young girl. She turned up with her parents. There was 3 children, a mum and dad. And she sat in the embankment. I'm not going on that. Why am I going on that? I'm not going on that. And I mean, it was just like, and it's all run by volunteers. So we volunteers are going, come on, come on. And at the end of the day, she was the one who was engaged the most. She was talking more to her parents. It was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And having that, we take photos as well so that they can go away with that experience and they can remember it, and they've got all those photos to share and talk about afterwards, and hopefully it'll help them to be able to actually talk more as a family as well and communicate better. So that's just one of the things we do with Swing Bridge.
Fantastic. It's amazing. And the allotments, where do you have allotments?
Allotments, we've got one in Reigate and one in Stanwell. Our one in Stanwell even has chickens.
Wow.
So the local community, they have a team of people that go in and look after these chickens. So yeah, so Stanwell community is very much about supporting each other. It's great again because they go in and they obviously encourage people to actually build their confidence and their self-esteem. The one that we have in Reigate is bigger. It's bigger than a football pitch. It's
wow, my goodness.
It's fantastic because they will do family days as well. The allotments, obviously, you know, they encourage parents to bring their children along and meet other families, you know, because they feel like a family might feel isolated. Yes. In Reigate,
if they're going through a lot.
Yeah, in Reigate itself, there is actually one thing that always sticks in my mind is there was a guy that lived in the estate locally who barely went out, never went anywhere, but really enjoyed planting and looking after things like that. So he started going, and he would literally put himself, because it's so big, he could put himself on his own and actually just work on his own. And he had no relationship with his son, and his son started coming. And it was really lovely to watch that the staff over there, I always remember them telling us how they started to talk because they had that space to be able to do that. And they started building that relationship by doing things together. And it's just amazing, isn't it?
Oh, fantastic. It must be very rewarding to see families just being built up and changed and coming together and just changing, I suppose, and being more supportive of each other. Must be just so rewarding. I was going to ask you, so when you come in and sort of help parents, like with almost become a parent or a mentor for a parent, how do you support those parents? Like in what way? I don't know if you want to tell us a little bit about how what that looks like. Yeah.
So we might get a referral for a parent from somewhere like family support program or a social worker, where they've gone in and they've done some intervention. And what they feel is that this family have grown a lot in their independence and in their confidence, but actually they're not quite ready to be on their own. And whereas a social worker or family support worker or TYS would have gone in and they would have written an action plan that they feel that it would be really good for this family. Actually then walking away and saying, that's it, you've got to do this on your own, it's really quite tough. And so a mentor will just work alongside and just be alongside them. And also we ask that the parent meets them in the community. So they'll go to a cafe and buy them a drink. So they're away from the children and able to think, if you like, about what they want and how they're going to improve their confidence, their resilience, I suppose, really, to be able to cope with everything that's going on. Because I believe that if you improve a parent's resilience, then that means that those children within that home, they're going to have better skills as well going forward.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely 100%. Because when you're feeling absolutely awful as a parent, it's really hard to give out of that place. You know, you need to have a good perspective of yourself, and also just, it's that whole concept again of putting the oxygen mask on yourself, isn't it? And sometimes it is just really, you need space and time to think about how you can put these things into place and not have it all on top of you. And it's difficult, isn't it, with small kids or kids that are avoiding school. How do you get any space?
I know.
Sorry, what are you going to say?
Also, I just think that sometimes it's a case of, you know, where a professional goes in, they have that 12 weeks or they have a certain length of time. So they want to go in and they want to really try and put some interventions in place that are going to help. It could be with housing, it could be with money, it could, and all those things are really important. But actually, underneath all of that, you still have a parent that is struggling emotionally themselves and not knowing how to cope with all of this. It's all quite overwhelming, isn't it? So to have a mentor that just says to you, come on, come and sit down and just relax and think about this and how are we going to take this forward?
Yes.
Huge difference. And also to be able to say to a parent, that mentor is there with you for as long as you need them. You know, they're not going to be there for the next 6 weeks or 12 weeks telling you what to do. They're going to be there for as long as you need them.
Yes.
Yeah, and it makes, I must admit, it does help hugely.
Do you think that's what, do you think, I'm just wondering, like, I mean, obviously with your background as well, with being in school, doing play therapy and all the things that you've done that you mentioned earlier, do you think like these are some of the roots of such that you're actually able to do that, like deal with some of those things that where it's all really coming from, get to the root of it? I don't know, like I'm just thinking out the box, just wondering.
Yeah, I think what it is, I think, Nicole, the way that I feel that, I think because of the experience I've had, and I've worked with where we've had money just to support parents, we've had money just to support young people, we've had money just to go into schools. And where I've obviously perhaps touched on all of it, I feel that you can't just do one part. You have to do all of it together and work together to support that family. And I think there are so many families that have those adverse childhood experiences growing up themselves, to then suddenly be thrown into having teenagers, and their teenage years, perhaps they've struggled themselves. So then they're like, what do I do? I just think it's really important that we respect that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Think, oh, you know, you're a parent, you should be doing this. Well, actually, no, let's respect what's happened to them and give them the respect that they deserve so that they can actually start to make their own changes.
Yes.
And build their own resilience.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. That sounds so amazing. So what age groups, you know, is it from 11 that people can access?
A young person can have a mentor from, we say 11, but 10, 11, you know, that borderline 10 coming up 11, up to the age of 25.
Okay. Do they need to have a EHCP then? Or no, it's nothing to do with that. Okay. Brilliant. Fantastic. What else was like, and do you said you also support adults, but is that more parents? Or
so we have two different mentoring programs for adults. One is if they're economically inactive, so if they're not working, they're struggling financially, If they're not working, we can put a mentor in, or if they've got if they're a parent and they've got a child under the age of 18.
Fantastic. Just having a look here quickly. Yeah, no, thank you. I think so. How do people get in touch with you, and how can they, you know, can they self-refer, or do they need to go through a GP, or how does it work?
Get in touch.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. That's
okay. Just get in.
All our programs. You can have a referral from a doctor. You can have a referral from a social worker. You can have a referral from CAMS, schools. We get a lot of referrals from schools, or a parent can come directly to us.
Fantastic.
We really do. So we have a referral form for our programs, but if a parent came to us and they told us their story, and we felt that we were the best sort of organisation for that family, then a coordinator would go out and fill that referral form in with that parent. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you work alongside other organisations then to support the family? Yeah.
Yeah. And again, just because a family has got other organisations involved, that doesn't mean that we can't support as well.
Yes.
Again, because like I say, you might have an organisation that's involved more because of money, housing. Do you see what I mean? Whereas we might be, or you might have it. You might have an educational welfare officer involved because of schooling, but actually the parent still needs a mentor to help them guide their way through supporting that child. Do you see? So there's lots of different ways that you can actually be involved with us.
Fantastic. Okay, so just kind of like to end off, I don't know if we missed any of the projects or things that you do. I don't know if you wanted to say if there's any missed.
I suppose the counselling service, just to say that we've got a counselling service for 16 to 25-year-olds as well.
Is that face-to-face or online, or?
Face-to-face, and it's based in Woking.
Based in Woking?
Yes, yeah. Anybody across Surrey can go.
Is this one-to-one or in groups?
One-to-one.
One-to-one, okay. So, oh wow, that sounds fantastic. So 16 and upwards. So that sounds amazing. So, wow, thank you so much. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, or just any sort of link.
Maybe if you, maybe if I can give you the email address, which is our general email for all of, so basically it's a mentoring email. You can email on info@Surrey Care Trust, but I would say if you wanted actual support for any of the programs, we have an email which is mentoring@surreycaretrust.org.uk, and that email address is monitored by coordinators, so it means that they have a better understanding of perhaps if an email is sent there, where they can direct that email to for one of the team to actually get in touch for the right project.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic. Anything else that you want to add?
Well, the only other thing is, if this is going out to parents, if anybody wants to become a mentor as well, we have mentors aged between 20 and 70. So it's very varied. If anybody wants to become a mentor and they've got that time and they feel that they've had support through their life and now they'd love to be able to support somebody else, or they've just got that bit of time that they feel that they would really love to be involved with Surrey Care Trust, then obviously, again, just email that mentoring at surreycaretrust.org.uk and one of us will get in touch.
Fantastic. Did you want to add anything else, Hannah, before we finish? Or
I think what I'd like to end it with is just a bit of a quote from one of our young people. She's been having mentoring for over 6 months now, and the other day described mentoring perfectly, so I thought just end with that. She said that mentoring is like having a supportive penguin on the ice rink when you are learning to skate.
Lovely. I love that. My kids love ice skating, actually.
I loved it because I thought you just think having a penguin on the ice is, you just think of all the fear of everything you go through being on the ice.
Yeah.
And you just want somebody to be that there to you and be that, support.
Yeah.
It's amazing that you've got a young person saying that about a mentor.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, I love that. Such a great quote just to end off on. And thank you so much, Sian and Hannah, for joining us today. And just hope that people will just get in touch with you and go from there. You're doing an amazing job, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Nicole.
Bye. Thank you. Cool.